And now, the Doctor and Liam return, and please, remain calm.
Vivian sighed as she sat on the sofa, as she did every single light cycle. She sat half-slumped, which wasn't the most comfortable way to sit, but she couldn't be bothered to sit up fully. The TV showed a really old Earth game show, something called The Wheel. Vivian didn't understand a single thing, let alone know the answer to a single question. All she knew is that the host was really, really annoying. Vivian looked over to the door. How long was it until Arwen got home? It could be ages, or it could be moments. Vivian never knew. She usually got home once Mastermind started. Vivian turned back to the TV. The host made a joke she didn't laugh at. The audience laughed, but it didn't sound genuine. Maybe they thought they'd be paid more if they laughed as loud as possible. And then, the door slid open. "Hey, Arwen," Vivian said without turning around. She knew it would be moments before Arwen came home from her shift at the local shop. "I am not Arwen," a robotic voice said. Vivian turned around. It was Five Up, their floor's patrolling guardbot. "What's going on?" Vivian asked. It wasn't often that a guardbot entered a residence, so Vivian was slightly more than a little on edge. "Is Arwen okay?" "Please remain calm," the robot instructed, "and follow me." Vivian followed the robot. It led her into a section she hadn't been before, mainly because of the sign that read "Guardbots Only," which did nothing to ease her worry. The robot led Vivian into a room and stopped. There was a strange sound, like a vacuum, and then a clunk. "Okay, now will you tell me what's going on?" Vivian asked. "Please remain calm," the robot said in its ever-cheerful voice. The robot pushed a button on the wall. An alarm began blaring, and then a voice said, "Airlock opening, airlock opening, airlock opening." Vivian panicked as she looked around. The furthest wall from her was moving upwards. The stars outside were becoming visible. She tried to hold on to something. She tried asking the guardbot for help. Nothing worked. She couldn't hold on tight enough. The guardbot wouldn't move. Even shouting several curses at the robot didn't work, and so she slipped, flying out of the room and into the cold void outside. Chapter 1. They called the colony ship Tophet. They didn't know why, but it's what their parents had called it, and their parents' parents, and their parents' parents' parents, so on and so forth. Tophet floated aimlessly above Arton, and the people of that planet didn't even know that they were there. No one in the universe knew they were there, in fact. No one but the Anglican Marines, who showed up on the 9th of every 33rd daylight cycles. The 38th floor was the living quarters. Not the only living quarters on the ship, but it was the one that Justin woke up on, as she always did. Justin stretched her arms above her head, groaning slightly. Her bed was uncomfortable. She'd buy a better bed, but she didn't have enough points. "Good morning, Justin," a male voice said. Justin rubbed the sleep out of her eyes and looked toward her doorframe. "Morning, Dad." She smiled. "First day today?" her dad asked. It wasn't really a question. He knew for certain it was her first day today, as he had been counting down to it since she got accepted for the job 57 daylight cycles ago. Justin nodded, sliding out of bed. She began to put on her shirt. "My daughter, a security guard," her dad said, proudly. "At least one of my kids managed to do something." Justin turned to look at her dad, pausing just before buttoning up her 5th button. "Don't say that. You sent him there." Her dad didn't react. "Enjoy work," he said, before walking away. Justin rolled her eyes. Her dad had never been one for conversation nor criticism. His word was always gospel, carved in stone, and written in golden ink. And nobody would dare argue with gold-inked, stone-carved gospel. Justin walked into the elevator. The elevator was only slightly smaller than a bedroom. It was only slightly smaller than most rooms on the 38th floor. "Good morning, Justin," the guard bot standing in the elevator said. "Good morning, 5-0, Justin said to the robot. "Heading to security," the robot asked. "Yep. Alrighty," the robot said, pressing one of the several elevator buttons. Justin wondered why they made the robot voice sound so annoying. It reminded her of a boy from floor 49 she had dated for 7.5 sets of 2 daylight cycles. That boy had bad eyesight. He needed glasses as thick as walls that made his eyes look massive, which wouldn't have been a problem if he didn't have surprisingly ugly eyes. Justin didn't even know how eyes could be ugly. Maybe it was the color, a sickly brownish-greenish color that made Justin think of throw up. Maybe it was the way he conditioned himself to blink every 2.5 seconds, because he didn't want to miss any of Justin's beauty, which would have been sweet if she hadn't heard him using that exact same line on 2.5 other girls. The half a girl came from the girl who punched him square in his leftly crooked nose before he could even finish the line. "Well done on your employment. We're all very proud of you," the robot said cheerfully. Justin imagined that if the robot could smile, it would be smiling. But as with every robot Justin had met, the robot could not smile and so did not smile. The elevator dinged as the doors slid open, allowing Justin to step out of the lift. Justin was now on the 6th floor, the floor that was entirely dedicated to the security and the mechanics and the booth. She walked down the hallway and towards the camera room, as marked on the metal sign next to the equally metal door. Inside the room was her boss, Marcus Azraeli, a tall, bald man with a beard that he was obviously very proud of. "Good morning, Justin," he said. Marcus's voice was very much the voice of a boss. It was a voice you would hear and immediately assume he was someone's boss. "Morning, sir," she replied. Justin sat down in her designated seat and turned toward the cameras. She watched as everybody went about their day, doing their assigned tasks, hanging out, and doing whatever it was that they were doing. She also noticed several rooms she'd never seen before, most of them in the 70s, all the way up to the 110s. She didn't even know this place had 110 floors. For several minutes, her job was boring. Nobody was doing anything other than what they should be doing. And then an alarm went off. "Motion detected," the robot voice said. 94th floor. Justin looked toward the camera for the 94th floor. Unfortunately, the camera wasn't working, so Justin wanted to find out what happened on that floor for several more minutes. The 94th floor of the ship was one of several storage floors, but the 94th floor was unique, because it was the one that the TARDIS had chosen to land in. Onyx, a young boy, stepped out of the police box. "This is it," he said, excited. "I'm home." Another person, this one being Liam Baker, stepped out of the TARDIS. "This is it?" The storage room was grey and lifeless, apart from the vines growing up the wall, and, perhaps worst of all, unwelcoming. The blank grey walls reminded Liam of the cafeteria at his secondary school. He'd always sat alone, as not many kids wanted to talk to him, or look at him, or be seen near him. He'd also once had an entire tray of food thrown at him during the school's annual Christmas dinner. The turkey and gravy and stuffing and Brussels sprouts slamming into Liam's back, with a rather unsatisfying splat. Liam never did find out who threw their dinner at him, but he felt a little bit of justice knowing that he had his own, and they didn't, because they had foolishly thrown it at the only openly gay guy in their school. One final person stepped out of the blue box, the doctor. "Well, this is homely," he joked. The room reminded the doctor of the prison cell he'd stayed in when he was the eyebrows. Or the prison he'd stayed in, the face after the eyebrows, or, well, a lot of other prisons. The doctor had stayed in a lot of prisons, mostly for things he didn't do, except for that one time he got locked up in the Tower of London for beating King Henry VIII at a speed eating competition. He remembered having to run really fast to avoid getting her, the doctor was sure he was a her at that point, head cut off. "I never thought I'd be here again," Onyx said, positively beaming, his smile spreading from cheek to cheek. "The elevator should be somewhere through here." The young boy pointed towards a door, which presumably led to a corridor. "We can take the elevator to the..." Onyx tried to remember what floor he lived on. 32nd floor. "Great," Liam smiled. The doctor walked towards a wall, looking closely at the greenery going up the wall. He hadn't often been intrigued by plants, but these plants were very intriguing. And then the doctor saw something else. Something standing in the corner. It was a robot. Great, the doctor thought. He loved robots. Half the time, anyway, when they weren't firing at him. He'd married a robot once back on Jenny, back when robot marriage was illegal. The robo-marriage didn't work out. After all, she wanted to settle down, and the doctor couldn't imagine settling down. He'd already settled down once, and look where that got him. Flying around time and space in a blue box. The robot's eyes flickered on, shining a bright green into the doctor's face. "Oh, hello," the doctor smiled. "Unidentified." The robot spoke in a voice that sounded like it had been pitched down. "I'm the doctor," he introduced himself. "And over there are my friends, Liam and Onyx." Liam and Onyx looked over at the doctor. The robot looked over at them. "Logged," the robot said. "Onyx, my friend," the doctor said. "Any idea what this is?" Onyx nodded. "It's a guardbot." "A guardbot," the doctor repeated. "Cool name. Cool eyes." "This level is restricted," the guardbot instructed. "That's all right, we were just leaving," Liam said, putting a guiding hand onto Onyx as he walked towards the door. "This level is restricted," it repeated. The guardbot tried to step towards the doctor, but its legs did not move. "Doctor," Liam called over, "we should really be going now." It shot its arms up, reaching towards the doctor. "Yeah, okay, let's go," the doctor said, backing away towards Liam and Onyx. The guardbot was finally able to take a single step towards the three. Onyx pressed a button beside the door. It slid open with a very pleasant metallic screech, which wasn't very pleasant at all. The boy led the men down the hallway and to the elevator's doors. They waited for the elevator to arrive, Liam and the doctor watching down the hallway, making sure the robot didn't follow them. "Greetings," a guardbot said as the elevator door opened. "Jesus!" Liam jumped backwards. "Please keep profanity to a minimum," the guardbot instructed. "Right, sorry," Liam apologized. "Apology accepted," the guardbot said, as cheerfully as its stuttery voice could have mustered. The voice reminded Liam of a Panic at the Disco vinyl Liam had owned. It was scratched and kept skipping right at the start of the second chorus of Ready to Go. The three walked into the elevator. Onyx pressed a button, and the lift began moving down. "So, Godbot," the doctor said, stepping towards the robot, "what is this space station?" "How do you know it's a space station?" Liam asked. The doctor looked over. "Can you feel it?" The doctor jumped into the air and then landed back down, shaking the elevator slightly. "The gravity is wrong. Artificial and not good artificial at that." Liam closed his eyes. He could feel it. The incorrect gravity. It felt like he could float above the ground 1 second, and then like he couldn't even jump a centimeter the next. The feeling made him ever so slightly nauseous. "So, spit it out," the doctor said, lightly tapping the robot's metallic head. "What is this space station called?" "This is called home," the guardbot said. "It is your and many others' homes, as long as you follow the rules." "My parents call it Toffet," Onyx said. The doctor turned to look at the boy. He furrowed his eyebrows, scrunching his forehead. "You've got that look," Liam said, pointing to the doctor's face, but specifically at the doctor's slightly twitching right eyebrow. "The look of you're about to figure something out and boast about how brilliantly clever you are." "Well, that's because I am brilliantly clever," the doctor said. "So what have you figured out, oh brilliantly clever one?" Liam said, teasing the doctor slightly. "Tophet is a Hebrew word," the doctor said. "It means a place of ritual fire burning, or, in layman's terms, hell." "Please keep profanity to a minimum," the guardbot said. "Are you saying we're in hell right now?" Liam asked. "Like, literal, actual hell?" "If the profanity continues, I will have to add a mark to your charts," the guardbot informed. "Maybe not literal, actual hell, but something a lot like it," the doctor said. "One mark," the guardbot said, a ding sound ringing out. "Sorry, this robot is really annoying. Is there any way to put it on mute?" the doctor said. "You may not interfere with the operations of the guardbots," the guardbot said. "Oh, I think you'll find I do plenty of interfering," the doctor said, pulling out his sonic screwdriver. Such action will result in expulsion, the guardbot said. The doctor stopped and stared at the guardbot. The guardbot's glowing green eyes stared back at the doctor, as expressionless as you would imagine a robot's eyes to be. Then the elevator stopped, and the doors slid open. Chapter 2. Onyx sprinted out of the elevator, calling out for his dad and his mom, and for his sister. He ran past doors and guardbots and people, causing one old man to say, "Whoa, slow down, bud." Liam and the doctor walked out of the elevator with less speed and enthusiasm than Onyx. Liam followed Onyx, apologizing to everyone the boy very almost knocked over. It took Liam a few seconds to realize that the doctor wasn't following. Liam turned around to see the elevator close its doors and begin to ascend. "Right, okay," Liam sighed. "Guess we're wandering off." The doctor stood in the elevator as it moved up to the 10th floor. He didn't know exactly why he was going to the 10th floor, but he had a feeling, perhaps an itch, that something on that specific floor was wrong. The doctor bounced on his heels and hummed the tune as the elevator moved up before the elevator shuddered to a stop. The doctor turned to the guardbot. "What's going on?" You do not have the permissions for this floor," the guardbot informed. "I have permissions for every floor," the doctor said, pulling out his sonic screwdriver. He pressed the sonic against the elevator's button panel. The elevator began moving up again. "1 point," the robot said with a ding. The doctor sighed. Points, points, points. Is that supposed to scare me?" The robot did not answer. The doctor rolled his eyes. He didn't like these robots, which was rare. He usually loved robots. The lift stopped, and the doors slid open. The doctor remarked how it was quicker than last time, and then he looked at the elevator buttons to make sure he hadn't pressed the express button by mistake. And then he realized that elevators didn't often have express buttons. And then he thought about how stupid it was that all elevators didn't have express buttons. It'd be great because you get to your floor in less time than you could say, "I'm being threatened by stomatons." The doctor was being threatened by stomatons. They were large black rods with 2 metal prongs sticking out the top, 4 metal prongs in total. The prongs had bluish electricity sparking off it. "Not exactly the warmest of welcomes," the doctor remarked. "How did you get access to this floor?" a man with a really impressive beard asked. "Oh, that's a really nice beard. Really very impressive," the doctor said, avoiding the question. "Answer the question," a woman much younger than the impressive beard man ordered. "Good aggression, Justin," the bearded man whispered to the woman. "Thanks," Justin whispered back. "Well, I sort of went up to this floor," the doctor answered. "It is a button on this elevator, after all." The pair looked at the doctor like he was a clown who had just burst into their home and begun doing a really bad comedy routine. "Who are you?" Justin asked. The doctor answered as he always did, with, "I'm the doctor." The pair of baton-wielding people looked at the doctor as people often did when he introduced himself. The doctor waited patiently for the two to ask him. "Doctor who?" Justin asked. The doctor mouthed along. "Just the doctor," the doctor said, proudly, smugly, routinely. "If you're not going to answer, we'll have to put you in a cell," the man said, grabbing onto the doctor and pulling him through the corridors. Liam followed Onyx through the metal hallways. Liam wondered why whoever designed this space station didn't make it look more welcoming, more homely, but then he quickly realized that the hallway outside his house wasn't very welcoming. "Dad, Mom!" Onyx shouted out as he pushed open the door and ran inside. Liam followed, and, well, this was more homely. The walls were decorated with a rather garish brown wallpaper, decorated with sketches of flowers. The floor was a shagged carpet that was equally as brown as the walls. There was a sofa that looked like it could fit 3 people, 4 at most, if they squeezed together, and an armchair, both a grayish beige. The brown walls were decorated with pictures of Onyx's family. None of the people in the pictures were smiling, and in more than a few of them, Onyx looked slightly awkward. Liam remembered getting his photo taken when he was a kid. It was a very awkward experience. There was also a man in almost every picture. Liam assumed it was Onyx's dad. The man had the same face in every picture, a stern, authoritative face, with eyes that made Liam feel nervous, like the eyes in the picture were burrowing into his very being. A door opened with a distinctive Liam turned around. Within the doorway stood a man with a hairline that receded so far back that most would just give up and shave it all off. Although the man would look strange with no hair on his face but his eyebrows, Maybe if he grew a beard more impressive than the badly shaven stubble he had, he would look more dignified. Dad, Onyx said, running into the man's arms, hugging onto his dad tightly. Onyx's dad did not hug the boy back. Well, not to the extent that Liam would consider a hug. The man simply patted Onyx on the back. I didn't know you were coming back, he said. His voice had a tone to it that Liam didn't like. It set off a feeling Liam thought he had buried years ago. Liam brought me back home, Onyx said, pointing to Liam. The man looked over at the stranger who was standing in his house. Oh, it was nothing, Liam said, earlier than he expected to have said it. Liam assumed that the man would say thank you or a less formal thanks before Liam could speak. Onyx's dad didn't say either of those words. Instead he said, Why? What did he do? Nothing, Liam said. Well, it's over, the war, so we brought him home. The man nodded. Right, of course. He pushed Onyx toward the door. Can you go in here for a minute, bud? Onyx nodded and entered the room. Onyx's dad turned around. He put his hands in his pockets and looked at Liam with a look that made Liam feel like the walls were slowly crushing him. Please, take a seat, he said, gesturing to the L-shaped, slightly worn sofa in the corner of the living room. Liam took a seat. Onyx's dad didn't. He stood, looking down at Liam. Look, I'm sorry to have sprung it all on you, but we don't really have a way to... Liam started. He wasn't meant to come home, the man said. I'm sorry? Liam asked. That was the agreement, he explained. You were supposed to take him and raise him to be a priest. A priest? Liam said. On a battlefield? Where else would a priest be? The man said in a way that made Liam feel like an idiot, even though he knew for certain he wasn't. So, look, I don't know why you brought him back here. I don't want him here. He's your son, Liam said, standing up. You can want him here or not, but you don't send him into war. This isn't an argument, Onyx's dad said, matter-of-factly. Oh, that's one thing it is, Liam argued. What kind of a man sends his son into a war? A man who knows how to raise a boy, Onyx's dad retorted. Liam shook his head. Now grow some hair on your chest and get that boy out of here, the man ordered. Liam laughed slightly and then punched the man in the face. Liam was pretty sure it was the hardest he had punched anyone since he found out Joey Marcella was cheating on him in year 9. Onyx's father looked up at Liam, his eyes burnt with a fiery rage. Like how Joey Marcella looked at Liam, which Liam thought was unfair, as Liam wasn't the one who cheated. You shouldn't have done that, the man said. AC-12, he called out. The front door slid open, allowing a guardbot to march in. How may I assist? The robot asked. This man, Onyx's dad said, pointing a dagger-like finger at Liam. This man attacked me. The robot's head immediately swiveled to look at Liam. It was so quick that Liam almost didn't register that the robot's head had turned. Please remain calm and follow me, the robot ordered. Yeah, I'm sure you'd like that, Liam smiled, but I don't think so. Refusal unaccepted. The robot raised its arm. A compartment opened on his hand. Something shot out of the hall. Liam felt something sharp hit into his neck. Liam reached up and plucked it out. It was a metal dart. The corners of Liam's eyes grew darker. You've got to be kidding, Liam said before passing out, hitting his face against the floor. Chapter 3. Basil watched as the robot pulled the stranger out of Gary's house. Everybody on that floor all watched. Nobody knew who that stranger was, only that he had brought Onyx back to Gary. Some people wondered if maybe he had done something to Onyx, which didn't explain why the boy was calling after the stranger, telling him to keep up. Some people wondered if maybe the stranger had tried to steal something from Gary. But Basil knew what had happened. It's what had always happened. Look upon this, Basil called out. They are taking us away. Some people rolled their eyes and sighed. A couple of people giggled quietly to themselves. Mad Basil was having one of his episodes again, it seems. Basil was an old man. He was born several generations ago. Nobody knew for certain how many. Maybe he had been part of the first generation of Tophet residents. Basil had seen several 100,000 daylight cycles. He was there when Tophet's work days were only 8 hours, instead of 17.5, as per the usual. But most importantly, Basil had seen the guardbots dragging people away. It used to be one every so often, Basil would tell anyone he could. But now it's practically one every day. And now Basil watched as another poor soul was carried and shoved into the elevator. "You're all cowards!" Basil yelled out. "Just letting that poor man be taken away." "He assaulted me," Gary said, "in front of my own son." "You let a pulse like that lay a punch on you?" A man joked from across the floor, leaning at his door and laughing. "Shut your mouth, Trev," Gary shouted. He was clearly not in the mood. "I'll come over there and show you what a real man can do." "Both of you shut up," Basil shouted. "People are being taken, stolen away from their homes, from the people they love." "Well, I hope they take you next," Gary said, glaring at the crazed man. Basil stared in wide-eyed disbelief. "You're all just going to let it happen," he said, quietly, angrily. Nobody else said anything. A few people huffed and turned up their noses. They all walked back inside. Except for Onyx's dad. He watched the old man. People had always been scared of Basil, of his mad ravings. They'd tell their kids to look away any time Basil showed his dirty, wrinkled face. "It's just the way it's always been," Onyx's dad said, before following the lead of everyone else and stepping back inside his house. Basil stood alone on the floor. "Have you all lost your minds?" he shouted. His voice echoed, hitting the back wall and reverberating back to him. Basil bunched his fists and screamed. It was a loud, angry scream that alerted a guardbot. "Please keep unnecessary noise to a minimum," it said. Basil looked over at it. He wasn't thinking in that moment. He was too angry. He had to do something. He had to. He rushed at the guardbot and tackled it to the ground. "1 point," the robot said. He bashed his fist into the robot's face, which wasn't much of a face. It had eyes and a vague sort of mouth, but despite that, it wasn't a face. "1 point," the robot repeated. Basil punched it again. It hurt his fists with each punch, but Basil did not care. He didn't care if he broke his hand. He just had to break the inhuman thing that he knew was behind all of the things that had happened on Tophet. These robots had taken people. Some people he never knew, some people he did, his wife. He had to destroy it, all of them, every single godforsaken robot on this equally godforsaken space station. He punched and hit and slapped. He didn't realize that 2 other guardbots had walked up behind him and... "Let go of me!" he screamed as they dragged him away, kicking and screaming. They dragged him away, through a dark hallway with pipes and wires tangling on the walls. They threw him into a room, an empty room with nothing inside it. Basil helped himself up off the floor and immediately charged at the guardbots who stood in the door. One of them punched him in the stomach, knocking all the air out of him. Basil stumbled back and fell down onto the floor. "Please remain calm," a robot said. The robot stepped outside of the room. Basil watched as they left, groaning and wheezing. The far wall slid up. The vacuum of space began pulling Basil closer and closer, and then yanked him violently. Basil was dragged against the floor, hit his head a couple of times, and then flew out. Liam came to in a prison cell. It was cold and empty, with bars made of jagged metal. Liam sat up and rubbed his face. "Oh, good, you're awake," someone said. Liam turned to look at the voice. "Doctor!" The doctor was sitting in the cell next to him, a cell as equally as cold and empty, with equally as jagged bars. "What are you in for?" Liam joked. "Oh, a spot of trespassing," the doctor explained. "I imagine the same for yourself?" Liam closed his eyes and sighed, slightly ashamed. Not that he wished he hadn't done it. He'd punch that man again in a heartbeat. Instead, Liam was ashamed to be admitting it to his friend. "I punched a guy." "Oh," the doctor said, bluntly. It was quiet for a second. Liam was sure that the next thing out of the doctor's mouth would be something like, "You shouldn't have done that," or "That punch could have tore a hole through space-time," or "Give me your key, you're not traveling with me anymore." The doctor didn't say any of these things, nor did he say any of the other options floating around in Liam's brain. Instead, he said, "Did he deserve it?" "Yeah," Liam nodded. "Well then, no harm done," the doctor said, shrugging. Liam laughed. "Just like that?" "Yeah," the doctor nodded. "I've punched people who deserved it." "Let me guess," Liam said. "You punched the funny toothbrush man?" "No, I didn't get so lucky," the doctor said. "My father-in-law did, though." Liam blinked in confusion. He considered asking the doctor when he got married and to who and why and 1,000 other questions. Unfortunately, Liam wouldn't get to ask these questions because Justin marched into the room. "So," Justin began, You two show up out of the blue and cause trouble. That's sort of what we do, Liam joked. Don't joke with me, she said, walking closer to Liam's cell. Do you have any idea who you assaulted? Was it your mare? Liam said, tensing slightly. No, that was my father, Justin scowled. Oh, Liam said bluntly. To be fair, he deserved it, the doctor said. Oh, shut it, Justin demanded, making a shut-up motion at the doctor. Where did you two come from? It's like you said, the doctor explained. We stepped out of the blue. Ha ha, Justin laughed sarcastically. What are you doing on Toffet? We were bringing Onyx back, Liam said, half whispering. Justin stared at Liam, deciding whether or not she could believe the man who punched her dad. She decided that she couldn't. How do you know his name? He's downstairs with your dad right now, Liam explained. We brought him back from the war. Justin looked Liam up and down. You don't look like an Anglican Marine? Oh no, we're more Anglican Marine than anyone else, the doctor stepped in. We're just Anglican Marining it up. It's not the scheduled time for your arrival, Justin combated. Is it not? The doctor said, checking his wrist as if he had a watch on there. The doctor did in fact have a watch on the wrist he didn't look at, but he decided it would be funnier to not check that wrist. Weird, I could have sworn it was. Don't you agree, Liam? Yeah, Liam said. Perhaps we're just running a bit late? Your 22 and a third quarter-day cycle's too early, Justin said, folding her arms over each other to illustrate how little she believed the criminal's lies. We're running very late, Liam said. This wouldn't be the first time Liam had lied to a police officer. It probably wouldn't even have been the second or the third. People always said that Liam had a lack of respect for authority. The Anglicans are always on time, Justin said. They pride themselves on being on time. And we're very sorry, Liam said. Any regular person would think that Liam was telling the truth. He'd learned to be an almost world-class liar thanks to his closeted years. Unfortunately, Justin wasn't any regular person. She had learned to be an almost world-class lie detector thanks to her schooling years. If you keep lying, then you'll have to speak to my higher-up, Justin threatened. Now she had the doctor's attention. Sorry, yeah, he said, rushing up to the bars of the gate and waving his hands about in a vague manic gesture. A higher-up? Liam looked over at the doctor. He had to hold in his laughter. He'd seen his travelling companion like this a few times before. He found it oddly charming, like a dog hearing their favourite words. Could I schedule an appointment? The doctor said, making a note-taking gesture. It'd be rather interesting to discuss with them and talk about all this shit. Talk about how we aren't liars, Liam interrupted. He knew what the doctor was about to say. Justin folded her arms. She raised an eyebrow at the doctor, and then raised the other at Liam. She looked up into a security camera in the corner of the room. A second passes, and then another. Ding! A green light flashed in the other room. She nodded. You can, she said to the doctor. She pulled a ring of keys off her belt pocket, selected the correct key, and unlocked the doctor's cell door. Marvelous, the doctor said, climbing out of the cell. Now, if you'll just let my friend out. No, Justin said. He's already been sentenced. The doctor stopped. What does that mean? Liam said. Justin didn't say anything. She walked out of the room and pressed a button on her desk. Cell 2, wall opening, a robot voice said out of a speaker. Liam turned around. His cell door, the one furthest from the room, the one he assumed was just solid metal, began sliding upwards. The rust of the vacuum of space roared through the small space the wall had made. The doctor ran up to the cell. He held onto Liam tightly. Don't panic, the doctor said, having to shout loudly. Are you kidding? Liam called out. How can I not panic? I'm going to save you, the doctor called out before Justin dragged him out of the room. Liam watched as the wall raised higher and higher. He could see space outside. It was dark, empty. The stars looked like small pins. They were barely even shining. His legs began to float up. He held onto the bars. I'm so sorry, Quinn, Liam thought, closing his eyes. A tear crept out of his tear duct and moved sideways across his face. Liam could barely hold onto the bars anymore. His fingers ached. There was so much I wanted to do with you, Liam thought. Paris, Winter Wonderland, anywhere. I'm sorry. Liam's fingers slipped off the bars, and he flew out into the void. Liam! The doctor screamed, bashing against the door. He hit the door hard, trying to break it down. He needed to save Liam. He'd promised it. When he saw Liam fly out, he fell down to his knees. Come on, Justin said, pulling the doctor up. The doctor looked at Justin. The look on his face made Justin step back. His eyes burned, like a roaring fire, like a monster ready to strike. "Do you know what you just did?" the doctor growled. "I punished the criminal," Justin fought. "It might be a new concept to a stranger like you, but here we take our rules seriously." "He made a mistake," the doctor yelled. "He punched my dad!" Justin screamed. "And so you kill him?" the doctor hollered, towering over Justin as she backed into a corner. "You better be a good liar and tell me he isn't really dead, that this is all some little trick, because otherwise, I'm going to tear this space station apart, piece by piece." Justin didn't have anything to say. She tried to say something, but she found that the words couldn't reach her throat. "Well then," the doctor said, his face blank from emotion except from his eyes. "Are you going to take me to your higher up or not?" Justin nodded and led the doctor back into the elevator and hit the button for floor 1. The elevator moved upwards. Neither of the two people said anything in the elevator. Justin stood in the corner of the elevator, like she was trying to hide, to get as far away from this stranger as she could. The doctor stood at the door, staring at his foggy reflection in the metallic door. His shoulders rose with each angered inhale and fell with each angered exhale. The door opened and the doctor immediately stepped out. He made his way down the hallway. He didn't check that the human was following him, mainly because he didn't care either way. He just walked down the hallway, each step following the other in a sort of march. He didn't know what he was going to do when he met this higher-up. Part of him didn't care. Part of him wanted him to rain hell down upon the people who had killed his friend. One part of him was terrified. What if they killed him next? Shot him into space like they did his friend? Both parts of him knew one thing, however. One single truth that would drive the doctor's next actions. Liam Baker was dead. Chapter 4. Liam Baker was not dead. Not yet, at least. He had just been shot into space, which isn't ideal for anyone, but least of all an average human from Earth. Liam had expected his head to explode the moment he flew out, like in the movies, but it didn't. He just floated. Floated away from the space station. Or maybe the space station floated away from him? It was hard to tell, especially when Liam didn't feel like he was moving. Liam wondered if he would freeze, if that would be the way it would happen. Frost would begin growing on his skin as his blood simultaneously boiled and froze. But it didn't. It wasn't even that cold, in fact, it was rather mild, room temperature if anything, which Liam thought was even weirder than the fact he wasn't dead yet. How could something be room temperature if a room didn't exist around it? The sun glared in Liam's eyes. He managed to raise his hand to shield himself from the utter brightness, and that's when he noticed something else. Some things floating in space around him. Bodies. People. Floating like he was floating, but they didn't look around, they didn't notice him. Well, they were dead. But why wasn't he? Why wasn't Liam dead? The TARDIS key floated out of Liam's pocket, its golden color glowing, literally glowing. Liam reached towards it. It felt like moving through water, or custard, although Liam had never moved through custard, so we couldn't say for certain. After what felt like a few seconds, Liam finally reached the key, grasping it in his hands. It burns with a warmth that almost burned Liam's fingers. Liam heard a sound, a groaning, a wheezing. It was a sound that made Liam's heart race, like it was filling Liam's soul with hope. The black void around him began fading away, shifting and changing into white walls with white roundels. The view of the space station Liam had warped into the view of a blue door. Liam landed on the floor of the TARDIS and took in a deep breath. He stayed there for a few seconds, just breathing, just feeling how the floor felt. It was nice to breathe again, nice to be on a floor again. Tears streamed down Liam's eyes as he pressed his forehead against the floor. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, he whispered as he slowly rocked backwards and forwards. His breath became shaky as he sat back on his heels. His eyes were red, water pouring out of them. Liam stood up, leaning against the handrail. "Doctor?" Liam said as he clumsily wobbled his way over to the TARDIS console. He couldn't see anyone standing through the other side of the purple-glassed column. Liam circled around the console. Nobody was there. "What?" Liam said. The console began moving by itself. Buttons on flicking themselves, levers pulling themselves. Liam watched as, he assumed, the TARDIS piloted itself. It was marvelous. Perfectly timed flicks, almost like a synchronized dance. It seemed professional, unlike how the Doctor navigated the ship, seemingly flipping and fiddling any button or switch or lever he thought did something interesting. In almost an instant, the TARDIS dematerialized and rematerialized. Liam walked over to the TARDIS's door and looked outside. He was back on top of it. He wasn't sure which floor, but it was one of them. Liam stepped out of the box and wrapped his arms around one of the corners. He hugged the box and whispered, "Thank you," at it. The Doctor walked down the corridor. It kept getting darker, like someone had forgotten to refit the light bulbs. At the end of the hallway, a door opened up, allowing for a green light to spill into the hallway. "Come inside," the voice said, kind but calm, somehow both real and artificial at the same time. The Doctor stepped into the room. It was a significantly large room, but most of the room was taken up, mostly by large wires, some of them shooting blue energy from one side of the room, snaking up the wall to reach the ceiling and into a large monitor. The monitor had an emoticon smile on it. "Hello, what is your name?" the screen said. "I'm the Doctor," he said, announcing it. "And who am I addressing?" "I am the Warden," the Warden said. "I keep the place running in tip-top condition." "Sorry, Warden?" the Doctor asked. "Isn't that for prisons?" "That's right, sir," it said. "This is the HMP Wade, the longest-running prison ship launched by His Majesty King Henry the 13th. "All of these people are prisoners?" the Doctor asked. "Their ancestors were. These people inherited their sentences. Everything is run by us," it explained. "It doesn't seem like you've been treating them like prisoners," the Doctor said. "They have families, jobs, lives." "It was always the goal of this space station to recreate a society, so these people with evil in their veins can live as they like," the Warden said. "As long as they live within our rules." The Doctor wondered if the Warden added that last bit in order to anger him. If it did, then it worked. The Doctor slammed his fists against the large monitor. "Liam wasn't just part of this prison," he shouted. "We were just returning someone. He made a mistake." "He broke our rules," it explained, "and so he got expulsed from our society. He wasn't useful to us." "Useful?" the Doctor shouted. "You judge people based on whether or not you deem them useful?" "I do," it said. It didn't care. "What about me, then?" the Doctor shouted. "You think I'm useful? What if I do this?" The Doctor picked up something that was on the floor at the monitor. He didn't care what he threw, he just wanted to throw something. "Please remain calm," the Warden said, its smile face turning into a mildly annoyed straight face. "There is no need for you to be angry." "There is every reason to be angry," the Doctor yelled back. "You killed my friend, and who knows how many other people, which has earned you only one thing." "What's that?" it asked. "A dangerous enemy," the Doctor threatened. "And I'm dangerous, because I know how to do this." The Doctor yanked out a wire. Liam walked through the floor, several residents looking at him weirdly. He had, after all, stepped out of a magically appearing blue box. Liam looked around. He had to find out what floor he was on, and, more importantly, where the Doctor was. A fair few people were gathered in a large section of the floor, watching a man preaching about something or something else. Liam wasn't paying attention, and neither were a fair few people, as they yawned and sighed and rolled their eyes. Liam had never paid attention to preachers when his parents dragged him to church almost every other Sunday. Except for one time, the preacher was staring at Liam, glaring at him like he knew exactly what Liam had done. Maybe Finney had told the preacher that snitch. The whole space station shook. The lights flickered. Liam had a feeling inside his stomach that the Doctor had something to do with it, and so he began running towards an elevator. "Please don't do that again," the robot said. "Why not?" the Doctor shouted. "Are you going to kill me too?" "He broke our rules. He had to be..." "Oh, blah, blah, blah. Do you ever shut up?" the Doctor mocked. "You think I care about your rules? They're wrong. Inhuman. All we ask for is cooperation. Those who do not follow our rules don't deserve to be in our society." "And you think you get a say? You can't deem who deserves to live and who deserves to die? Every human life, every life, deserves to live. They deserve comfort and love and warmth. But no, because they aren't useful to you, you deem it right to kill them," the Doctor said. "It's just the way it's always been," it said. The Doctor glared at the screen. He pulled out another wire. Liam stepped into the elevator. He scanned the buttons. Which one? Which one was the Doctor on? Then Liam realized. The top. the doctor would go to floor 1. He pressed that button. "You do not have the permissions for that floor," the elevator's godbot said. "I'll put a cork in it," Liam said. "I have to save my friend." "You do not have the permissions for that floor," the elevator's godbot repeated. Liam sighed, scrunching his face in annoyance. "You have permissions, I imagine." "I do," the godbot said, joyfully. "Good," Liam said, slamming the bot's head against the floor 1 button. The elevator begins moving upwards. Put, the godbot sputtered. The whole space station shook violently. It felt almost like an earthquake. Liam had to hold on to the elevator's handle as the elevator jutted, feeling like it launched upwards and downwards at the exact same time. "Please stop," the monitor said, the emoticon now a frown. "You are endangering yourself and all of the prisoners." "They aren't prisoners. Those are people. People who don't even know that they're prisoners," the doctor yelled. "They didn't commit whatever crime you're accusing of. The ancestors that most of these people have forgotten did. You're punishing them, killing them, for something you deem their ancestors to be." "It's just how it's always been," it repeated. The doctor stared, sparks flying around him. "All right," he nods. The doctor walked over to a particularly important-looking wire. "Let's pull this one, shall we?" "Stop!" the monitor shouted, perhaps the first genuine emotion it had shown. "You'll kill everyone!" The voice sounded genuine, scared, almost human. "Are you really going to kill 1,625,115 people to avenge one?" The doctor's grip tightened on the large wire. Was he going to do that? He was so sure of himself a second ago. He's done worse. Way worse. But was he going to do it again? "Doctor!" a voice called. The doctor stopped. That couldn't be. Liam ran into the room. "Doctor?" he said, looking at his friend. The doctor was red in the face, sweating, breathing roughly and heavily. I couldn't, you were," the doctor said, trying to find the words. His red eyes began welling up. Liam immediately ran across the room, not a second wasted. He hugged the doctor, tight. He held the Time Lord in his arms as the doctor cried. The doctor whispered, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." "It's okay," Liam whispered back. "You're okay." The warden watched. It seemed to be computing something in its head, like it was changing its own code. "These are people," it said. "They deserve forgiveness, safety, love." The doctor rubbed his eyes and looked up. "That's right. Keep these people safe. Apologize if you have to." "I will do my best," it said. "Good," the doctor nodded. "Good." Liam led the doctor out of the room, into the elevator and down. "There's someone I have to talk to," Liam said as he pressed the button for the 38th floor. Chapter 5. Liam knocked on a door. It slid open. Onyx's dad stood on the other side, a slight bruise forming just off his right eye. He stepped backwards a bit. "What do you want?" he asked. He seemed ready to throw a punch. "I'm sorry for punching you," Liam said. "I was just so angry." Onyx's father nodded. "Me and my friend were travelers in time and space," Liam explained. The man moved to talk before Liam spoke again. "We were on that planet that Onyx was on. I didn't mean to meet him, I heard him crying, and I spoke to him. He was brilliant and lovely and unique. I promised him I'd get him somewhere safe, and he chose here. He loves you, but it doesn't seem like you love him." "How dare you! He's my son!" Onyx's dad shouted. "Then treat him like one. Keep him safe. Keep him happy. Keep him loved," Liam lectured. "But don't send him off to war because you don't like who he is. Love him for the person he is now, and whoever he grows up to be." Onyx's dad stared. He looked like he was trying to compute something in his head. "It's how my father raised me," the man said. "Then be better than him," Liam said. "Be so much better." The man nodded. "Please, promise me you'll keep Onyx safe. At least that," Liam asked. Onyx's dad gulped. His eyes darted around the floor. "All right," he nodded. "I promise." Liam nodded, smiling kindly. "Thank you." The TARDIS faded in behind Liam. The man stared wide-eyed as the ship seemingly appeared from nowhere. Liam turned around, opened the door, and stepped inside. All good? The doctor asked, staring at the console screen. Yep, Liam said. He promised. He doesn't seem like the type of man to break one. Good, the doctor said, almost dismissively. Liam sat down on the TARDIS's chair. Doctor? The doctor said, not looking up. I was just thinking, Liam said. I almost died today. I would have died before I could see Quinn again. The doctor looked up. He'd had conversations like this before, and he was pretty sure he knew where this was going. Traveling with you has been amazing, Liam said. But now you'd like to go home, the doctor said, solemnly. Liam nodded. That's all right, I understand, the doctor smiled. I wanted to show you so much more. You still can, Liam said. What, did you think I was leaving? Leaving? Aren't you? The doctor said, raising his eyebrow. No, I wouldn't give this up willingly, Liam said. I just want to see my boyfriend again. Right, sorry, the doctor said, diverting his attention back to the controls. Idiot, Liam joked. I'm just going to change. Liam stood up from the chair and walked over to the circular door that led to everywhere else in the TARDIS. He pressed the button next to the door and it opened. Liam stepped through the door and... Liam... a voice whispered. Liam looked around. He poked his head out of the door and back into the console room. Did you hear that? Liam asked the doctor. Hear what? The doctor asked. Liam shook his head. No, probably nothing. Liam stepped out of the console room and walked away. The doctor stood at the console. He watched the screen closely. It read, Warning, timeline integrity shifting. A line displayed below the text. It waved across the screen, and then the soft waves became sharp spikes for a slight second. The doctor turned his head to look at the car that Liam walked to. He was concerned, a little scared. The doctor pulled the dematerialization lever.